what, I've been hearing, obviously like you're one of those people that I've been, you know, pretty much hearing. I mean, you're like, I would say top three best PR, best folks in the PR world of cannabis.
I appreciate that, man. Sincerely,
Yeah,
especially coming from you. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, dude. No, and I heard, I've been, like I said, I got recommended to you, but we had that initial intake session, and but I'm curious, what made you start to do content? And I think it's I'm really happy you're doing this show now, but I would love to like ask you about that.
Yeah, so I appreciate you asking that. And it's actually, and this was one of the cool things about hearing your whole process for the content that you did on the YouTube channel, right? So, um, and my wife always makes fun of me for this, but a lot of times whenever I meet new people, I have a tendency, and not in a negative way, but a lot of times like she'll look over at me and be like, "You're interviewing them again?" But I'm just so fascinated how people have so many different stories, and how this person may have, they may have success in this area of their life. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be financial, right? Um, but if I connect with somebody or meet somebody that has achieved success in one area or another, and it may be something that I personally want to do, or maybe I just have an affinity for that area, I just I'm such a junkie when it comes to soaking up that knowledge and just hearing about their story. And I think that's just what always kept me interested in PR to begin with. So I'm going to go there first and then I'll circle back to the podcast. But getting to understand people's stories, I think that was one thing that really kept me intrigued about PR, and then wanting to put a positive spotlight on the people doing the right things for the right reasons. Um, and timing is a big part of that. So I think there's, timing. I don't believe in coincidences. I think kind of like how you said, like there's a lot of fate, there's a lot of destiny to a certain degree. Um, so as I was just doing the work, doing my thing, I was like, you know what? I could create content which could help serve as, kind of like you said, it could help build a personal brand, it could help market, it could help network. But at the same time, I feel like I've been able to have so many conversations, and like this is one of them, but I've been able to have so many conversations or just have a reason to reach out to people, where normally if you get, the LinkedIn DM that says, "Hey, you want to meet up for coffee," or like, "Hey, like I'll buy you dinner, right? And you want to just sit down for 30 minutes, for 45 minutes, for an hour. I have a couple of questions to ask you." People are going to get fed up about that, especially people that are super successful and people that have a lot going on in their days, right? But if you reach out and you're just like, "Hey man, I've got a podcast. This is what we talk about. Would love to have you on as a guest. We could talk about what you're doing with your business, with, this and that. You down for it?" 9 times out of 10, people do not give bad responses to that. They are more than happy to sit down and chop it up and shed some light into their world. I feel like I've been able to get a PhD in so many different topics by just having a 30, 45 minute, 60-minute conversation with some of these folks. And to add to that, the network and the friendships and the relationships that have come from it, or you just can't put a price on that. And that's at least how I see it. So, I got into the podcasting thing not with a goal of like, having a show that blows up, like, like the Joe Rogan podcast or something like that. And a lot of times people ask me about that. They're like, "Well, you even asked me this too. You were like, 'Hey man, are you going to be recording the video for this and all that?'" And I'm like, "Nah." I'm like, "I just haven't gotten around to doing that part. We're doing audio only." And you were like, "Really? Why not?" And I'm just not even thinking about that stuff. For me, it's just more so being able to just connect with that person and just soak up the information and find those little clues of success. Cause I believe that success always leaves clues. Like it's impossible. If you watch enough people, you'll start to see that there are certain common denominators along the way. And that's why every single time, I don't know if you've noticed this, but every time I have somebody on the show, I'll always ask them, what's one thing that this industry has taught you that a more traditional or more mainstream industry wouldn't have taught you? And just by asking that question, man, you would not believe how much I've been able to soak up and how much I've been able to learn. And people with different backgrounds, like somebody who maybe has an investment banking background, somebody who has a strictly agricultural background, like they give you such different answers, but they have so much depth and knowledge and insight and wisdom behind those answers. It's priceless. So that may have been a long answer to
No,
that question, but
no,
that's the truth, man.
That's great. No, I love it, dude. I love it, dude. Yeah, I agree. Dude. I think at the end of the day, like I would say it's definitely do video in the future, start to like work to that because you want to start to, the more views you get, the more guests you can get, and the more whatever it may be. But at the very least, like for like I think it's dope because whether you're trying to shoot for the stars or you're just trying to just like but no matter what, even if you're just not trying to do be that big with it, right?
Hmm.
Able to learn, you're able to just have great conversations, and you're able to network, and that's priceless. I mean, it's literally like you said, it's you could get you could only get like a view, like one view on your, but it still would be worth it because you had that conversation with that person and you learn from that person, and like you
Totally.
know it's a very beneficial, dude. And you're like you said, the amount of responses you get compared to like asking someone to go, let me pick your brain, over dinner. People are way more down to do like, let me pick your brain over like a podcast that's potentially going to help build their personal brand, and
100%.
yeah, dude, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that question. That was definitely a good one. I don't know that anybody's ever asked me that on a
Well,
show.
I'm in media, so I understand. I understand when the moment you hit me up about the podcast and I knew this is new, I was like, oh, he gets it now. He understands.
Yeah, and this was, I think, after I saw a couple clips of the Burner interview, and I've been a fan of his for a while now. Like I remember the first album that I got put onto, I think it was Urban Farmer, and that's like years ago. Like you said, 20 joints, and I was like, man, 20 joints. I was like, that was like new Burner for me. But
Yeah, he would love. Yeah, he would love to hear
yeah,
that. I'll have to send that clip. No, yeah, absolutely. He'd love to hear.
yeah. But yeah, man. Hey, look, I don't wanna take up too much of your time because I know you're busy, man. You got a lot going on. But before we wrap up, anything else you want to leave listeners with?
Um, no, I would say just like if you haven't seen any of my content before, just go to my YouTube channel. It's just type in LMC into YouTube. Also, keep your eyes open for Space Weed. Check me out on Instagram, LinkedIn, just Luke Carlin, Twitter, all that stuff. And yeah, guys, just I mean, I think I love what you said about there's clues to success, like just observing folks. Like I remember this baseball coach, his name is Dan Billy, and he always
Mhm.
used to tell me, it's like you would always tell us like you can learn so much by just observing. Just observe these older ball players and just observe what they're doing. Just really study them when they're playing, and you'll pick up a lot of stuff. And so I've always kind of taken that mentality with me everywhere. And even when I couldn't get a hold of people and I wanted to do a video, I studied people. And eventually I studied them so well that I put out a whole video without even talking to them. And,
Mhm.
I then eventually would talk to them because they saw how well the video did. And they were like, dude, that's pretty accurate. Like you got a lot of it. And it's like, just observe, like, so people like success leaves clues. I love that quote. That's a great quote. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, man, I wish I could remember where I heard it from or who I heard it from because I'd give them credit, but it definitely
Yeah.
wasn't me. So I just want to
No,
put
that's
that
your
disclaimer
quote.
out there.
No, yeah.